And it is indeed a Friday football focus with me, Ed Oldham, and Tony Mepham joining us in the studio tonight. No guests this evening, Tony. It's just you and me, isn't it?
It is, because I was talking about bringing someone up, and we were talking about bringing the referees up who are going to Everton. But the more I look at this Division 2 saga, I just thought to myself, me and Ed need to have a chat here to sort this lot out, because I've done a rough estimate of where I think the results are going to go and who's going to get promoted and who's going to be champions and stuff.
Mystic Meps.
Yeah,
is
I'm not very good at the
case.
punditry, so I've had a bash at it now for 20 odd years. So I just looked at it and I just thought, wow, this is so interesting, because nobody seems to be able to find any consistency in their play. And I know you've probably got the Division 2 tables up there at the moment. When you look at sort of some of the games, you look at Onken, for instance, where they are in the league. Now, they've got to still play around home and away. So, there's two big tough fixtures there for them. And when you look at the start of the season, I think everyone quite fancied Castletown. Moran was sort of being figured a little bit. I know Ramsey Youth Centre was probably one of the big favourites, and they've fell by the wayside. But Pulrose, that to me has been probably the find of the season. But you look at their recent results, Ed, they've just capitulated, and I think they're under massive pressure now with playing 21 games for 43 points to try and get promoted. But isn't this far better than seeing a team walk away when you look at sort of Braddon winning the treble? And I'm not knocking them. St John's did it, Union Mills did it, but it's wide open here when you see this. And already some of the teams here are looking behind themselves to see if they're going to get qualified for the Paul Henry.
I think what's been really nice this season, and again, this is not a criticism of any of the clubs that have done this in the past or the players that have contributed to this, because everyone likes winning stuff, don't get me wrong, and a lot of us have played football in the past for the enjoyment of the game, but you always want to win stuff as well, ideally, don't you? You want to succeed and you want to celebrate and you want to do things well. But I think a bit of the problem that's been in the past sometimes is that one club has attracted a load of players from other clubs, often guys that are dropping down from the first tier as well, and you have ended up sometimes with a team just walking away with the division, winning pretty much every game, scoring
up 10 goals.
Well over 100 goals over the course of the season, averaging 5 to 10 goals a game. Just crazy figures. And well, I suppose it's great for them to be so dominant in one respect, but at the same time, it's not really much fun for anyone else, is it? And it's not much of it just doesn't create that much interest in the league almost either, does it?
Well, it doesn't, and I think we've had it in the Premier League as well this year, where you've still now potentially got 4 clubs who could win the Premier League. But Division 2, they all want to play with the big boys, and when you look this year, it looks, well, Colby are down, whether Ramsey or Braddon are going to join them, and then you look automatically at those 3 sides or who are battling there, that are 2 of those going to get promoted back up next year. So it's a lot of work to go in, but I think it's nice when you've done it with basically people who have been with you for quite a while. When you look at Castletown, they got relegated and then took a big hit, didn't they, where a lot of the real top players, I know you're a Castletown fan, left them, and they've been left to sort of nurture the younger ones through. And when you look at them that are starting to come down through now, Jamie Cadwallader's one. Alex Crawley, even though he's a little bit mature, he's still, 22, 23. I'll take a shot at that one, which is really good. You've got to just, I think, be patient. I think Castletown have done that. They've redone the changing rooms. They've got a fantastic facility down there. Looked at it last week in the Cal Cup. They've got some really good young players coming through the Cal Cup team as well, and that bodes well. But when you look at them at the moment at the league, the top, they've played 22 with 52, but the clubs behind them have played a lot less with, they've got the points that they can achieve, but Foxdale, you look at their sort of running. Let's look at Castletown's at the moment. You've got Moran to play away, so that's a huge game for them. They've got Ayr United, and that game I think is played tomorrow, is it?
Tomorrow,
against
that's
Castletown.
tomorrow, yeah.
And then that's them done and dusted. Yes, they got possibly a Paul Henry semi, and I see them getting into that, and then maybe a final. Foxdale, who have absolutely been flying of late, scoring loads of goals. Jay Chatwood is chasing that silver boot big time. I know the boys are trying to put it on a plate for him because they really would like him to win this, because this is going back now to Foxdale. And I was talking about it today, actually, when they got promoted, I'm sure it was, where James Cubban got one of his wagons and they all sort of got into the back of the wagon and drove up and down Foxdale in it. Martin Costain, Mark Watterson, Neil Watterson. There was also, I think, Cliffy Keys
like a champions parade through the streets of
mental.
Foxdale.
And if I remember rightly, in one of the cup finals, I think Cubby actually brought the wagon down and brought them in the back of the wagon. So I think health and safety now, I don't think that would be allowed, but it just shows you the club, because yes, the pitch needs something doing to it to try and sort this drainage out. But again,
not for nothing is it known as Billy Moat
Park, exactly. Yeah. But they've got a nice changing room facility there. They do camping TT week, which gives them the money to, progress the club. And they've had some really good players there. And Robbie Jack, who used to play for Foxdale, I think he used to play for St John's as well, has been in charge now. I think this is second, maybe third season. I think he's done a great job, because when Robbie took it over, he's a lively character. He's funny. And I just thought, will Robbie be able to hold this together? My word, what a tremendous job he's done. And, when you look at sort of people who've come through, Kevin Pullman, who has been so important in midfield, Steve Bettridge at the back. You got Stewie Fale, massive goalkeeper, 6'4", 6'5". And when I watched him beat Ramsey Youth Centre, it was a great performance, and Stewie scored in that game. But you look at Foxdale's fixtures, they've got Ramsey Youth Centre away, they've got Douglas and District at home, they've got Michael at home. So you'd expect maybe Foxdale there. Youthy will be tricky, but D&D and Michael, they should be able to pick up 6 points there. But then they've got Moran to play, and that game is tomorrow. It's Moran v Foxdale. So we'll get a good pointer by sort of 4:15, 4:30 tomorrow, how that's gone and how the Division 2 is shaping up. Onken is, I know people know it, but I'm an Onken boy. I was brought up in Onken, and I actually signed for Onken. I never played for them, but then I went to the Super Whites, and the rest is history. That was at 16 years of age. But I was going to play Cal Cup for Onken, but I remember going down as a kid at like sort of 9 or 10. My mum used to let me walk because I never had to step off the road. Down, I used to watch them play. I know every inch of Onken Park. I know every inch of Onken Stadium. And I really enjoyed it this year when I went down. It brought back memories. And it'd be really nice to see them back in, because they've had some really good players as well. When I look back, Finton Suddards, I think he won Division 2 Player of the Year twice, way back, 90s I think it was. But they had some really good players, and when you look at catchment area, they have probably got the biggest catchment area on the Isle of Man, and there's so many good footballers who've come out of Onken, and they seem to have sort of got that right. David Rees, who's a character, who's in charge of the team, has done really well this year to hold it together. Anyone who can control Rob Slinger in goal, they're doing a really good job, because he's a class goalkeeper. But my word, when things aren't going right for him on the football park, look out. But let's look at Onken's fixtures. Union Mills away, that'll be tough, because Union Mills have picked up a bit of form. Moran away, Pulrose away, which is coming up tomorrow as well. So a big game there for them at Pulrose, and then Moran. So you look at Onken there, there's probably 3 points possible at Union Mills, but then the other 3, I think it's going to be really tough for them to pick some points up. So I'm looking at Onken and thinking, can they do it? They're in a good position in the league, Ed, but I'm not so sure when you look at the other ones. Pulrose have started to sort of slide away a little bit. They dropped points against Malou with that 2-2. Steve Glover could have had that penalty in the back of the net towards the end. Would have been 3 points. That would have been flying. But you look at Pulrose's run now. They've got Michael away, Onken at home, and Jim's at home. So Michael, Jim's, you'd say, okay, Pulrose should be able to pick points up there, but Onken will be tough. So, that's Pulrose have got to sit down, settle whatever nerves they've got, because whether it is nerves, they need the full strength team. Craig Cowan, Mark Priestnell, Steve Glover need to be available for them. Then they look a finished article. If one of those 3 are missing, then it could be really tough. But they've got some really good players coming through there. So I think if Paul Guyver can keep them and build on it next year, then if they don't go up, I think they can play a massive part in it next year.
Moran, really, from what you've been saying, Moran are the ones really that are sort of, they're almost like the unknown quantity within all this, because they've played far fewer matches than anyone else above them. They're still only on 17 games. Yep. They've got 37 points. They've got 7 matches left. And it's not just those games in hand, but as you've been talking about, it's the games in hand against the teams above them as well, because they've got Pulley, do you say Foxdale?
Yeah, well, I've got the list. Let's have a look
let's
first.
go with these.
Just had a phone call tonight. They lose their pitch. I think it's after Tuesday.
Right.
Or it might even be Monday. They've got, at the moment, still 5 games to play at home. So they're going to have to...
Of the 7.
Of the 7. Right. So they're going to have to beg, steal and borrow pitches around the Isle of Man. And yes, we're coming up to good weather, so clubs will try and accommodate them. I know we did last year, and I think any club will try and help a fellow club if their pitch is in reasonable order and as the games come to a close. But let's look at Marown's fixtures that they've got to play. Michael at home, Jim's away, Castletown at home, Onken at home, Governors Athletic at home, Foxdale at home, and Onken away. So out of them 7 games, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of the top sides to play, and then you've got 3 sides, Governors, Jim's and Michael, who you'd expect them to try and get
the bottom 3. That's the funny thing. They've got the bottom 3 to play. Governors are 13th, Jim's are 12th, and Michael are 11th. And then, like you say, 2 against Onken, 1 against Castletown. So a real mixed bag of fixtures. But you talk about those games there at home. Well, home in theory, or not. They won't be, because, like you say, after this weekend, that's it for them at home. Actually, at the pitch in Marown. So, what are nominally home matches after that are not going to be, are they? So they will effectively be on the road for those games.
Yeah, they're not. Now, remember, one game, it might not be a good hunting ground for them, but I think it was Marown played at Ballafletcher a couple of seasons ago. I think it was for promotion. They needed the points and didn't get the points that they needed. So it can be tough for them. And you've also got to look at that. They could have a Paul Henry semi-final and a Paul Henry final. So they potentially have got 9 games still to play. And you know, with them around, they're young lads, so they should be able to keep things going. Injuries can cause a big problem because, you know, you're not getting a chance to recover. If you're playing Tuesday night, then you've got another game Saturday, because that's the way it's working at the moment, because we're into the Junior Cup semi-finals and the Hospital Cup semi-finals.
How much training are teams fitting in at the moment then, if they're playing 2 a week? Is it 1 session a week that they're trying to squeeze in as well, or are they just letting the guys crack on?
I think it's 1 session a week. Corinthians, they trained on Thursday, but it's light. You can't work on fitness. If you're not fit now, it's not going to happen. It's more to keep everything loose, you know, keep the muscles supple as you can, and just keep things going. But now the pitches are starting to get harder, so the injuries come a little bit different. It's
more
quite
impact.
Interesting.
Yeah,
well, exactly, Ed. And this is what we're talking about. People are saying football should go to summer football, because then we'll have the continuity and everything else. I know pitches have to recover with growth. And it was a great seminar last night that Mike Atherton put on, you know, what people should be doing now to the pitches. It was absolutely brilliant. But when you speak to people, speak to physiotherapists and everything, summer sports like football and rugby, the injuries change from torn ligaments to sprains or whatever to broken bones, because it's like playing on concrete, and that's not what we want. But the pitches are starting to firm up. From what I'm hearing, the weather forecast tomorrow, Sunday, Monday is good, and then a bit of rain coming in Tuesday. So it'll be just nice in time for the midweek games. But my word, there's still a lot of football to be played.
Can you remember a promotion race like this, a second division title race like this, even with so many being involved at this late stage?
No, I can't. You could see it last year with Douglas Royal and Braddon. You know, it's nip and tuck towards the end, but that's 2 teams. We're here, when you look at the top 6, look at Maloo, they're 5th at the moment, 23 played 41. So they're near enough done and dusted.
They're basically out of it in terms of getting towards the top 2 or anything like that. But other than that, I mean, Marown, I suppose Pulley in theory, Onken, Foxdale and Castletown can actually mathematically all still finish in the top 2.
Exactly.
And who of those 5, or probably 4 more likely, out of Castletown, Foxdale, Onken and Marown, is actually going to end up claiming the title as well? Because the thing that you were remarking on before we came on was that in some respects, some of these teams, it's almost like they don't want to win it.
Well, it is, and there's been a few sort of comments this year that a couple of the clubs, Foxdale one, that they people keep picking on, is they don't want to go up, so they're going to throw it. They're not going to do that. No club wants to do that. You want to play against the best footballers in the Isle of Man. So if you go up and you have to work hard, and you get relegated, at least you've proved that your team were worthy of promotion, because there's like 2 leagues in one. I know people are going to be saying this is where we have to go 3 leagues, but you look at top 6 sort of in the Premier League, and then you look at the 7 after, or take the middle one out. Douglas Athletic, I think, are always going to sort of be there at the moment, safe, because they're good enough. But the other sides all battle out for points, and I think it's great. And this is why I think it's really good, because, you know, when you're playing St George's, Corinthians, Peel, Old Boys, Russian, it's going to be tough to get some points. But then when you look at the other teams, like Douglas Royal, I find, you've got to try and pick some points up against them to survive. You get to play them twice a year. So in theory, you know, you should be able to get enough points to keep yourselves up, because it does look as if a team is going to be relegated this year, just bordering on getting into double figures, which isn't nice. But have they enjoyed the experience of playing against the top sides? I've heard no complaints. It's just unfortunate. The team that you inherit, like Ramsey, quite a few players weren't available. You know, when I look at Jordan Kelly, hasn't been there consistent. Chris Halsall hasn't. Chris Duggan hasn't. 3 massive players. You can't afford not to have them, and this is probably what's cost them.
You mentioned there, you know, this often talked about, long talked about idea of moving to 3 divisions in Manx football. There are, you know, people that think that it has numerous benefits in terms of the number of fixtures, the competitiveness, and whatnot. Is this something that you still won't really consider? Do you think it is okay as it is, or can you understand where people are coming from when they talk about this sort of thing?
I don't like it, but it's not my decision. I'll come to why I don't like it in a second. The decision is by the clubs. This year we've just had rules revision, and no clubs put a proposal for us to have a look at 3 leagues. We've had a look at it. We've sort of dipped our toes in the water and discussed it, but no one has really said, let's give it a real good bash. Let's put the proposal forward and see what happens. I think it would fail. The reason why I say that, it's not all about Geordies, and that's, let's face it, they've been the team of the decade. And everyone said if we could get rid of St George's, then we'd have an interesting league. I think now St George's are come into the pack. The only reason why is that the other teams, I think, have got better. Hasn't been that St George's have got worse. My thing is, which with my FA hat on, I really would like to see the opportunity for clubs to get the chance to play in UK. Whether that means we have to go into step 7, because at the moment we're classed as grassroots, we have to go by rule to a league of 14. So if we went a 9-9-8, which is what we've got at the which we would have if we had 3 leagues, we can't go into the English tier.
It's 13 in each at the moment, though, isn't it?
13 in each. So what it would mean is that the Premier League would have to increase to 14, and then Division 2 would be 12. What pitfalls do you have then? There is so many... Just
30 seconds left, by the way.
Right,
sorry,
there's so many games being lost at the moment to football, and a lot of it is players going away, and that's what could be a big problem. But the Isle of Man FA, and I'm certainly with fixtures, not frightened of change, but it's got to be changed for the right reasons.
Food for thought. Thanks very much, Tony.